Welcome to PM Express Business Edition. Well, can we now say that the prayers of those who are operating hotels, tourism facilities, pubs, and the rest have been answered? Finally, the airports have been open for international travels. But one would ask himself or herself that, could it be the answer to the problems that the sector is facing? Well, on PM Express Business Edition today, we'll be finding out whether, finally, with the opening of the borders or the international airport for international travels, the problems that the sector was facing in terms of lack of patronage, people being laid off and all the rest, have been answered, or there are deep-rooted challenges that we have to look at. Opening of the international airport for travels, could it be the answer? Or could it be the trick that will turn around the sector's problems or not? This is on the table for PM Express Business Edition as I engage the Chief Executive of the Ghana Tourism Authorities who are here with me in the studio, and also some players in the industry will be connected by the phone to get their thoughts. All these things wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition right here on the Joy News channel. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition. And as you look at whether the opening of the airport for international travels could be the answer or the trick that will turn around the dwindling fortunes of the tourism sector, or there are some deep-rooted things that we need to look at maybe after all. Does it also raise serious questions about the fact that what is happening to domestic tourism? What have we done to it? Maybe it raises questions about that. The fact that when the borders were closed, all these facilities were struggling to survive. Well, there's no other person to get in here and have an interesting discussion on this than the Chief Executive of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Sakusha Bwaje. I thank you so much, sir, for your time, for joining us in the studio for PM Express.
Thank you, George.
And how are you doing? It's been quite a while.
Quite a while. I'm good.
And for you, are you one of those people who were so excited when the president decided that, well, we have done all the necessary checks, the country is ready to open our airport for international travels?
Quite exciting. It's a significant step. One of the major decisions that have been made since we went into lockdown. Quite significant. It's a major step that have been taken, but like you indicated, there are others that have to complement that, and so we are working on it. But it's quite good.
It might be early days yet, but from at your end, are you seeing some numbers coming through that has got you excited? I mean, it might be early days yet. Maybe.
It's still early days, but I mean, even the number of airlines that fly in. You know, for example, if you take the upmarket hotels, a lot of them depend on crew, airline crew, staying in their hotels. And so if you take the number of airlines that we have flying in here, about 35 or so, and an average of 11 crew members. So it means that at every given time, you had 350 rooms booked. You know, and these mostly are in the upmarket 4-5-star hotels. And so to lose that for how many months now? 6 months or so is quite significant. So even if you take it at face value, just the airline crew coming back in, I mean, businesses at the airport, you know, you have restaurants, facilities that have not operated since March. And so that is also quite significant. So if you look at the entire value chain, airline catering services for airlines that are flying and all that, you realize the significance of this decision that has been taken by the president. And then, you know, tourism thrives on access. And so no matter what you do, no matter what you say, if people cannot fly into your country, they cannot fly. And so even attempts to stimulate demand through marketing and everything had to stop, because if people cannot board a flight and come into your destination, what is the point in telling them to come? If people cannot go to tourist sites because they are closed down, what's the point in making the noise of see Ghana, eat Ghana, wear Ghana? So in a way, everything was in lockdown. So as things started easing up, first with restrictions being lifted on restaurants, hotels, you started seeing some significant move. I mean, you have almost about 600 or so restaurants that we have registered. And if restaurants are not operating, look at the number of jobs, the value chain, food, farmers, everybody. And so as the president has gone every step in his updates, we have seen some improvements, and I think we are going to get there very soon.
I'll be getting back to you to help me out with some rough numbers. The Ghana Airport Company talked about, the Minister of Aviation talked about the fact that they might have lost somewhere around 500 million Ghana cedis. I don't know about the tourism space in terms of any rough numbers here, but also in this discussion, we're trying to bring in some players to a little bit of contribution to it. Mr. Gideon is with Untitled Travel and Tour, and also David is also with Labadi Beach Hotel. Gideon, let me first ask you, you operate in the travel and tourism space. I believe that it was all smiles when the president came out and said that the international airports are open.
Yes, George. We are very happy. On Monday, for the first time in 5 months, I had all my team meeting at the office, and you could see the smiles from all my staff. Everyone was happy because, look, the announcement alone sparked a lot of inquiries. I mean, people calling, and we really missed our phone buzzing. And I mean, even if the business is in the future, it kind of brings some excitement and some kind of back to business kind of feeling, and that alone cannot be overemphasized. So we are very happy, and I'm sure most of my colleague operators that I have spoken to are also having the same feeling that the announcement alone and the fact that the place is open is kind of is a boost to us, and most of us are strategizing to see how best we can take advantage of that.
Mr. Asare, help me out. You said that the announcement alone, you witnessed some spike. Help me out. So when it was clear, because I remember a week before this announcement, I had a friend telling me that, I mean, he may have made some inquiries with Turkish Airlines, and he knew that they were flying in during a certain period. So can you tell me that since this announcement came, have you had about 20, 10, 50 inquiries, and already you've seen some transfers hitting your local or your international accounts?
Okay, so yes, we've had some number of calls. Well, for Advanced Travels, we anticipated this quite earlier. So from June 23rd, we already launched packages. So we had some clients who have already made their bookings and a bit, reluctant to make payments because they were waiting for the borders to be open. So once the borders were open, we've had some payments coming in a little bit more than previously, and also some inquiries. You know, the airlines were now structuring their system. So some of the inquiries, we may have to take the business later because the airlines, Emirates, for instance, yesterday that they launched they activated their system for us to be able to book. So as the airlines are activating their system for us to book, we know we can convert some of the inquiries into business.
And I get from you that you are back to winning ways, if my expression might be right.
Like Mr. Juma said, yes. So there are other factors that will come to play. It's not changing from our current state to a booming state. It is like we have now started the engine. So you have a journey to go, and now you have a fuel. So you start the engine and you look forward to the journey. So that is what the opening of the borders is like. So now, once the car is started, you can now move. So we are back to business. It's going to also take us to strategize and see how we can take into play all the other measures that came with the opening, so that we can really assure our clients of safety for their trips, and also to let them know destinations that they can travel amidst the COVID.
Coming back to you to get from you in terms of the expected losses so far, and also what are the projections that you are doing yourself at your end to ensure that within this certain period you could recover. But let me also get onto the line and get to Mr. Duful. He is the executive assistant manager at Labadi Beach Hotel, one of the premier hotels in this country. Are you also excited by this? And for you, how soon are you counting your eggs, or maybe your chickens, if I should say?
George, thanks for having me. First of all, I'll equate this announcement to what we normally see in the financial market, where, one announcement or one statement by somebody could send the stocks either up or down. Same way, the announcement of reopening the airport is sort of a psychological booster to the industry. People are excited about it. All of us are excited about it. And of course, it changes a lot of things, even though it's not on its own, as my other colleague said, going to give you everything. But it's a mean, and it's a step in the right direction. So industry players are excited, and of course, we'll see change in the industry. Already we started having inquiries here and there, yes, and that is going to happen moving forward.
Mr. Duful, have you made any projection at your end that based on X amount of inquiries that are coming in, maybe by the end of the year or even by the first quarter of next year, we should be breaking even?
Of course, the last quarter is what would be very exciting. Don't forget, for instance, I will just take you back to last year. Last year was one of the best years in the history of this country, talking about the year of return. And this year we were looking at beyond the return, which was going to be fantastic, or let's say excellent. I'm sure Mr. Kosiajima will attest to that. But of course, COVID came in, and the airport was closed, and nobody could come in. So plans were sort of put on hold. Now, the president has announced the reopening of the airport. Most of these guys did not cancel their bookings. So, of course, we still have those bookings intact. And most of them have come back to us. And I can assure you or tell you straightforward that in December, the last week of December, for most hotels are already full. And so the last quarter of 2020, even though it will not be like what we had last year, is going to be better than the last second and say the second and third quarter of this year, which of course we all know the story.
Okay. Hold on there. I'll get back to you guys again. We're supposed to have connected through the Zoom, but technology will not smile on us. But let me get back again to the Chief Executive of the Ghana Tourism Authority. You hear these comments, and then does it give you, will it give you a good night's sleep that, the future is bright, not futuristic, but even short-term, things could turn around quickly for this sector?
Yes, we've been engaging. I mean, even yesterday we had a meeting with the tour operators, and so we take feedback. We are aware of where the market is, but like I indicated, there are other things that have to be added on. So, for example, we need to stimulate demand. I mean, today, for example, the steering committee of the Beyond the Return had a meeting. We're looking at quickly patching up some of the few dead spots and more or less outdooring the pillars very soon. I mean, this should happen in the next few weeks. And so, tourism is also sometimes activity driven. So people may come to market because of one reason or the other. So we've started engaging all the event organizers, Afrochella, Afro Nation, Tina Festival, because if you look at the data that we have, a lot of people came into country last year because of some of these events that were being held in Ghana. So we started re-engaging. Already the links were there, but we're not all sure whether the border will be open, and if it was open, were people going to have that confidence? I mean, recently Ghana also got the safety stamp from WTTC. And when people are confident about traveling to a destination in terms of safety, now with COVID, the protocols, whether it met international standards. And it seems like we are ticking all the boxes. And so I'm very confident going into the last quarter that we will see numbers. As to whether we will get to the numbers of pre-COVID days, is still early days. I mean, because there are so many things that we have to monitor. And we will continue to engage with industry. For us, one of the things we are going to do is strongly stimulate demand. And so some of the activities that we're doing domestic-wise and internationally are still going to now kick in to ensure that the demand is stimulated.
So if I get from you right, we're going to have the Beyond the Year of Return this year, we're going to have the Afrochella this year. All these things are going to happen to try and help turn the sector around and stimulate?
No, Beyond the Return was still ongoing, but you know.
But we thought that because of COVID, we were going to cancel it this year.
No, it's a 10-year project.
So it is coming on in December this year.
It's going on. I mean, for example, we just had Emancipation last month. In July, and it was well patronized. But we, because of COVID protocols,
scaled down the numbers.
We did a lot of things virtual. We have tried as much as possible to keep in touch with our kith and kin. So even though some of these activities have not happened on ground, there have been a lot of virtual conversations. I mean, we have the Ghana Advocacy Forum, Global Africa Forum that we've been engaging. You saw what we did with the George Floyd Writ Lane here, which went virtual on CNN and other platforms. And so, top of mind, Ghana is still there for the people who want to travel. And so we've kept in touch that way. So we are very, very confident that with the easing of the restrictions and also the opening of the border, that is one significant and giant step towards getting to the levels that we will be happy with. Today,
Dr. Fauci was saying that in terms of even the vaccine, it might come earlier than they projected in November, maybe looking at somewhere even October as well. Yeah. Some of news like this again brings some excitement to you in the office, right?
Yes, very, very much so. But we have our eyes on the ball. I mean, no matter what it takes, there are still segments of the market that have not been open. You know, what the president has done, which is quite significant, and we thank him so much for this, is a lot of the easing of restrictions have been bottom up. So there are a few other establishments that we've been engaging, like the cinemas, for example, beaches, nightclubs. We must get to a point where everything is open. So we still have a few, but it's always been driven by what can you guys do to ensure compliance? And so meetings with the Presidential Task Force on COVID, meetings with Ghana Health Service has become a regular feature of the work that we do to ensure that once we are easing out, we are not also, unfortunately, inviting a spike. And I think so far it's worked perfectly.
You talked about other sectors that have not been opened up. So let's talk about the nightclubs, the pubs, public events and concerts and all those things. What is the authority doing in terms of the engagement or the recommendations to the task force or the president about what we should do to these sectors?
I mean, if you talk to the event organizers, they have an association, I think, led by Madam Teresa. They will tell you, even to get to the point where we have the corporate events and everything, they brought the proposals. We sat down with them, brought in the Presidential Task Force, the Ghana Health Service, show us how you can, given all these parameters, because there are certain assumptions. Keeping people in an enclosed environment for a certain number of hours increases the risk. Doing this way increases the risk. Well, once people understood the science of how COVID spreads, then they say, okay, now work with the tourism authority under the auspices of the ministry and bring us proposals. So every time we've gone to Dr. Ansiasari and the team, it is a joint effort. Ourselves, the operators, working together under our ministry to present. And I think everybody now understands the things that we have to do. So, for example, if you look at nightclubs, there are issues of ventilation and how do you ensure, I mean, the social distancing in a nightclub. So, but we're working on it. We're working on it. I believe that at some point in time, we will find the right mix and then things will ease up. And also, as we've gone along, there are a lot of monitoring activities that are ongoing. I mean, with the National Task Force also. And so we ease restrictions in this category. Are they compliant? How do we ensure that some sectors are truly compliant?
There were serious concerns by certain players that most of these areas were not compliant with the health protocols. The bars, the restaurant, and all the rest. Those places that are semi-nightclub, semi-pubs, and you go there and the things that are going on there, and if it hadn't been that, whether we are building immunity or whatever, you marvel that whether these people know that. I mean, there are clubs that I know that I see people around.
Clubs open?
Not clubs per se, but these are open air pubs, kind of nightclubs per se.
That is why, George, the science comes in. Because, for example, we've asked the question. I mean, for example, okay, let's say a choba, typical choba. versus a restaurant. You remember chobas were open and restaurants were not. And the explanation was given to us that when you have an open air place where there's ventilation, it reduces the ability of the virus to survive. But when you have an enclosed, and we know most of these restaurants were in enclosed distance, so some education had to go in, plus enforcement, plus understanding of the protocols. And I think so far, like I indicated, it's worked well. And for us, like the president said, protecting your life and protecting your livelihood. So I think we are at the point where livelihoods need to be protected, and we are good.
From your end, what are the numbers looking at in terms of what was lost so far? I mean, is there any rough figures that has come to your end from your various agencies that you also reporting to your sector minister, or you're still working on the numbers?
We threw out a number of 170 million, and those numbers were coming directly.
70 million.
$170 million.
From March to June.
I think that was for the first 5 months, you know. But those were numbers that were coming directly from the operators. So, for example, we engaged with the tour operators. They told us there were actual cancellations. And I think the Minister of Finance mentioned in his media report about 11,000 tourists who had booked within a certain period, just around March, before the lockdown, who were coming in. Boom, that went. So if you add that and then you did a comparison of the numbers that they did previously, that was the estimate. Now with the opening up, what we are trying to do is to check within the first few days. And already the feedback we are getting from both the airline boards and the tour operators is that they are going to look good. So I won't be able to throw out new numbers. We'll stick to what we have. But I believe that if we have this conversation a month later, we will be able to show.
I'll definitely come back. But from your projections again, and I come to you because of the fact that you work with these direct agencies to get the numbers. From the way things are going, you're hopeful that by December things should be stabilizing in terms of the tourists coming in.
Oh, definitely. For example, December in GH this year will be massive because. I think Gordon did indicate. David, sorry. We know, we've checked with the hotels, and that the bookings that people made towards the latter part of the year were still intact. They hadn't cancelled because they still had not reached the point of if you don't cancel, you lose your money. So people it was more of a wait and see attitude. We know that people, when Europe opened up, when Spain and other countries, tourists will go, travelers will go. People like the adventure of coming into destination. And so far as we've managed to get a safety stamp in place, so far as we are stimulating demand through our marketing activity, so far as we are having all these activities, so far as we've managed to talk to that significant segment of the market that we are targeting. So for example, in the case of Beyond the Return, our focus is on the African diaspora. And so We've kept in touch. There's so many things that have been ongoing, conversations virtually, and we're very, very confident that the numbers will look good.
But whilst we also celebrate these things about the projections, and some are saying that there are also some deep-rooted challenges that, again, COVID has exposed the lack of promoting domestic tourism as well. The fact that we are not encouraging people to go to, and I'll be coming to the hotelier and then even the traveler and tour as well. That even in the midst of this COVID,
the data doesn't say that.
Are people traveling so much?
No. Let me give you. For example, we have in our buckets, like we do, the economists do with monitoring data. Inflation baskets, taking a basket. So we also have a similar one where we do the monitoring of the 10 top visited sites
locally.
So I'll give you numbers. So for example, in 2016, we're looking at somewhere around 427,000 within the top 10. Currently, we are closer to 600,000. So that is a significant leap. And fortunately for us, about 70% of these site visitations are by Ghanaians, are not foreigners who have come in. So no matter what somebody tells you, if you look at the data, for example, last time I was watching, I think Joy Business, you were showing the data from the castles, Elmina and Cape Coast. You see the numbers go up. It's not just foreigners. You have a significant amount of Ghanaians traveling. Now, when you talk about business along the value chain, if you take events, I mean, corporate events that happen in other markets. So, for example, people moving from here to, let's say, Royal Century for business conference. These are all classified as tourism. And the numbers there too, I mean, have been improving over the years. And so, yes, you may think that, we focus on international. I mean, we have a campaign that has been running since 2017. See Ghana, eat Ghana, wear Ghana, feel Ghana. And if you go to most of these attractions, they will tell you that they have seen increases. There are some challenges. For example, in Kakum, the road network. The road was an issue, but now it's fixed. And so
as we speak right now, the road to Kakum, though, has been fixed.
I think you should call them. The road to Kakum, I mean, the last time we checked had been fixed.
I'm a little bit biased because that's my area.
Okay, so then we come from the same area. So I think the road has been fixed, and that reduces the travel time for tourists. We have a project going on, the Ghana Tourism Development Project under the World Bank, and about 11 sites currently are being upgraded. And so once everything settles, you will see that indeed, adding that to the e-visa that is also being worked on, plus some of the marketing initiatives that we are going to take, we will be in a good place.
I'll be coming back to you again in dealing with some of the inherent challenges in the sector whilst we try to grow it. But also, we also have our guest on the line, that is Gideon Asari. He is the Managing Director of Adansi Travel and Tours, and also David Eduful. He's also the Executive Manager at Labadi Beach Hotel. We're taking a short commercial break, and I'll be right back to you guys to look at the future going forward and also dealing with those inherent challenges in the tourism sector, whether indeed the future can be bright or still we have these problems to deal with. This is PM Express Business Edition. Right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition. We're looking at tourism sector recovery with the opening of the Kotoka International Airport for international travelers do the trick. Or maybe there are deep challenges in the sector that we need to deal with before we start making hay while the sun is really yet to set or actually go up there. My name is George Yaffin. I have with me in studio the Chief Executive of the Ghana Tourism Authority. So grateful to have time for us in this quite busy schedule to make time with us. And also for our guests who are connected via the phone, Mr. Gideon Asari, he is Managing Director of Adansi Travel and Tours, and David Eduful, he's also Executive Manager at Labadi Beach Hotel. And some would say that these people, they play a very significant role in the whole tourism space, hotel and travel and tours. Mr. Jiman, we're trying to get some numbers from your end, and I was just trying to find out from you that at your end, again, what are you doing to let us appreciate some of these numbers in terms of domestic tourism? Okay,
so I think we, as and when we put out numbers, I mean, for example, we just have, for the 2019 publication, we think we just released it. I'll send you a copy. Maybe you didn't get a copy of it, but you look at all the, this is a copy of it anyway, all the parameters are going up. So, I mean, in terms of international arrivals, in terms of domestic visitations, in terms of amounts spent by visitor coming into country, everything is looking good for us. But like you rightly said, it's not, we are not out of the woods yet, because we understand where the challenges are. If you take, for example, when I talked about access and how significant the airport opening is, there's also an access point in terms of how people get visa to come to Ghana. Last year, for example, we saw pictures of people queuing up at the Ghana Embassy in Washington to get a Ghanaian visa to come. And so, in this day and age, where e-visa is involved, we're working on an e-visa project as part of the Ghana Tourism Development Project. Is it for selected countries? Or? No, this will be global. And so very soon, I think in the next week or so, the advert will be out, and we're hoping that we can roll this out by the end of the year. So that will deal with the access point. I mean, we've been also working with the Ghana Airport Company and the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority in terms of attracting more carriers into country. I mean, the Caribbean is a very significant market for us in the things that we are doing in terms of Pan-African heritage tourism. But if somebody wants to come here from Barbados or from Jamaica, there are no direct flights. You have to go back to either the US or the UK, and you need a visa in these countries before you can go. So that has compressed the number of people who wanted to or may want to come to Ghana. So we are working on that access point. I mean, just before COVID, we had a delegation from Barbados, the Minister of Culture and the Minister of Tourism. We're all here. We engaged with them, with Ethiopian Airlines and a few other airlines to see whether we could have direct flights into the Caribbean. That is one. Then when you come to the issue of capacity, I mean, a lot of people, especially at the lower base of the market, have entered this industry as a plan B, or in some cases plan C. And so how do we build that capacity for, let's say, housekeepers, front desk executives, people within the value chain who provide a service? They are the frontline staff. And so tour guides and all that. So currently we're also working on a project. I think last week there was an ad in the papers for private sector partnerships to see how more training institutions can be built up. Because if you go to the polytechnics and the universities, that is for the middle to up market, up level staff. But who is training the housekeepers? Who is training the people on the shop floor? How to deal with them? So that's the kind of project that we are working on. We recently also launched the Ghana Gurus platform, which is a training platform for the travel trade. So where you go there, you have all the information, because no matter what we do, we can open the borders. If the tour operators like Adanse, the other operators are not putting out the word there, are not engaging their clients to come back to Ghana, repeat visitors. And if you look at the research that we have, about 97% of people who come to Ghana say they will come again because they have a very good experience, the warmth of the people, safety and everything. And so we have that. Then you talk about infrastructure. Like I indicated to you, currently we have about 11 projects that are ongoing. Gushegu, Inzulezu, Golu, Dr. Liman's hometown, Mampong, Ankasa.
That's a beautiful place.
So all these things are being upgraded. And I think we are marching on. We are marching on.
Let me get onto the phone lines and get Mr. David Edofola. He's executive manager at Labadi Beach Hotel. So did I get from you right that if I don't move fast, the hotels will be already full?
Of course, in December, yes. Especially the last week of December to first week of January, where we have activities lined up. So, and of course, don't forget that with reopening of the airport, people are making plans because it sends signals, right signals to the international community that, hey, Ghana is ready. And of course, everybody can see how we manage our COVID situation here. So I'm very confident that it will yield the necessary results that we are all looking for. Talking about businesses or whether tourism, the only challenge, which of course I'll have to raise here, is majority of the people think that Ghana is an expensive destination, which I'll leave Mr. Kosiajiman to elaborate more on that, because airfares to Ghana are expensive, but of course that still does not deter them to come. And I believe strongly that we're going to have a better last quarter than the previous ones we've had in 2020.
So therefore, again, I want to come back to you on this also. So what would be the implications on, I don't know about Labadi's case. I knew about other places where they had to let some staff sit home, some had to sack, some had to cancel some contracts. What would be the implication of this slight pickup, the easing of restrictions, opening up the airport, be for the workers who are in this industry, the hotel workers, and also the effects on the supply chain for the hotels as well?
Well, if I may come in here straight away, the opening does not mean that we're going to see business boom immediately. It's going to take a while, all right? But I said from the beginning, it's a psychological booster. So everybody's mind is prepared. We are ready for what we used to do and what we are used to doing. And so just the opening alone gives people that gratification that things are going to work. You know, it's not easy having people sit at home, not getting the right salaries and things like that. We in Labadi, for instance, fortunately, we have not laid off anybody. But of course, you cannot also bring everybody to work because you don't have the volume that you used to have. All right? Occupancies are very low, and you can't lie about these things. You come to the hotel and it's quiet, of course. But that doesn't mean that opening of the airport will see significant improvement in the occupants, or let's say business. Certainly there will be improvement, but it will not just be overnight.
Let me bring in Mr. Asare in here quickly. There was a concern about the fact that it is quite expensive to travel to Ghana. I mean, is it a concern for you, or because you get your flight full all the time? Well, it's much I do about nothing. And what should be done? Your bosses are here, your regulators are here to address this challenge, sir.
Yeah, George. Yes, I think that one of the key areas for making Ghana, maybe some would think Ghana is expensive, is the hotels. I mean, domestically, like my boss mentioned about domestic travels, you check the figures from the attraction points, the figures are up. But when you check with the hotels, you see that a lot of Ghanaians traveling within Ghana are doing excursion trips, like day tours. They are not able to do multi-day trips so that they can spend more compared to when we take them out, we do multi-day trips. And sometimes we do packages that are like for 2 days, 3 days, 4 nights. And the moment you do that, they see it as so much expensive, and they will tell you that, or they will rather top up some more and go to out of the country and enjoy. So I think that the hotels, this COVID presents an opportunity for the hotels to have a plan. I have checked personally with how hotels in Eastern Africa, Kenya, and Rwanda are playing the game. They have special rates for Eastern Africa, special rates, and that one is charged in their currency. They don't quote dollars for those special rates. And then they have international rates that they give to us, those coming out of Eastern Africa. So they want to encourage people within their country to book the hotel at certain rates. So if the hotels also look at that and they're able to give special rates to Ghanaians so that they can spend some time. After all, the rooms, if the room is empty, it goes again. It's a perishable product. So if your occupancy rate is 70%, it means you always have 30% unoccupied. So why don't you give a special rate for the 30% for Ghanaians to utilize it? And then another factor has to do with the transportation system to carry the tourists around. So there's no well-structured transport system in the country for tourists. So we kind of chasing the same kind of buses that are for normal commuters. So it becomes very expensive. And because there's no well-arranged transportation system, you will see that the same tourist place, you see about 3 buses maybe coming, and they all have food. Maybe they are all from Accra. So if there was a pooling of buses, they will have all gone to with 1 bus or 2 buses, and the seats will have been spread across. So because that path is not well arranged, except that you can travel to maybe Kakum every Saturday by just going to the mall and you buy a seat and you are sure to travel. But it's not like that. So now if you want to go to Kakum, you need an agent to get to a car. By the time I finish the costing, you feel it's too expensive because I'm charging you a whole vehicle. So I have been always advocate of a structure where we will have we coordinate some of these activities so that we could make use of the volume to decrease cost, and also the hotels to decrease the cost. And added to the cost is currently also the amount of money that our incoming guests will have to pay at the airport. Personally, I think it's going to also add to the cost of making Ghana more expensive. Yes.
Mr. Sorry, hold on. Let me come back to one of your regulators in the studio here. It's a major concern for them about the fact that Accra is expensive. And you are you are the one on the ground. I mean, the ministry is just policy. You are the man on the ground getting all these things done.
No, I think we've had conversations on this. I mean, the industry knows, we know some of the factors that are causing this. I mean, for example, you have, as the industry players will tell you, multiplicity of taxes and levies. So, for example, we regulate the industry. a budget hotel pays 150 cedis a year, to the regulator. But then you have other agencies that also have their regulatory arm touching them. So you have EPA, you have assemblies,
local assemblies,
and all those. So it builds up. But I don't think the issue is just that. You have, I mean, like Mr. Sari rightly said, I mean, the average occupancy, I mean, is what? 50, 60%. I mean, in the hotel, business, the hotel, even if you're doing more than 40% occupancy, it's good. So what happens to the unused inventory? And so, in a way, there should be that shared responsibility between us and private sector. And that's what we've been engaging them on. That, yes, as we work on the harmonizing some of these taxes, and we've been at the Parliamentary Select Committee with the Ghana Hotels Association, the Progressive Hotels Association. We've engaged at the ministry level on ways that we could have even maybe a harmonized levy and tax regime. So apart from even the taxes that they pay, you have different agencies going in there. So sometimes it feels like they feel harassed. And so we'll work on that. But I think there are also other fundamentals that we need to look at. I mean, and COVID has shown us that clearly, if the demand is not there, you have to adjust. And I think because in some cases, the huge demand, I mean, most people traveling to Ghana probably want to stay in a 5-star hotel. I mean, the total number of rooms that all the 5-star have is somewhere around 600 or so. So clearly, there's always some level of demand if you don't come in and out. And now that we have this after secretariat here, I mean, the estimate is that probably conferences are going to boom and all that. So, one, we need more inventory, and two, we need the private sector to also adjust and make sure that people don't do that, don't have that perception.
Do you think that we need more hotels? Or is it rather the capacity, the expansion of the rooms?
I think in some
because
cases,
everywhere I drive, I don't know, I see a hotel around.
You know, there are different, they say different strokes for different people. I mean, if you take the upmarket, we probably could do with a few more, you know, and then...
Do we need more 5-star hotels?
Yes, you see, there are, for example, there are some even businesses, that categories, that will not allow their guests, their staff, stay below a 5-star hotel. And so it's part of their, what do you call it?
Conditions so we need more.
We need a few more, but then we also need other facilities, especially conferences, because for the way we are positioning ourselves, we want Ghana to be the MICE hub, meetings, conferences, and then exhibitions. But if you want to have, I mean, a big event in Ghana, it's difficult. I mean, when we've gone out there to try to attract, people say, okay, how many hotel rooms? Nationwide, we have about 57 or so thousand hotel rooms nationwide. And so if you were to have the Africa Cup of Nations here, where will all the people come? Or if we were to, so we need a few more.
We are going in for all African games.
That is where
huge challenge for us.
See, but those are sometimes you don't plan with those one-off events. You need to build a consistency, because if you went to set up hotels just because of all African games, it's probably 2-3 weeks. What happens to the infrastructure? So we need to have that holistic approach, homestays, a few other things that can be added on, but significantly working in hand with the private sector. And so far, I think we've been engaged quite purposefully. I mean, we've looked at the year of return and the things that happened in areas like Cape Coast, Elmina, where the hotels really saw business coming, and in some cases, some of them reduced their prices to reflect that. And I think we are.
Let's look at the stimulus package, because some of your players were still complaining that, listen, we were not considered, and therefore we are dying slowly. Least we collapse, shut down our business, and lay off everyone.
I think we've done a few things. The stimulus package is not over. I mean, I know MBSSI is still disbursing.
So they will get.
Yes, they will get. We are not involved in the application process.
A little advice.
But I think we are very confident, because even today we spoke with MBSSI, because people said, oh, we applied, we haven't gotten. They said, look, it's in stages. They started from the Adom. I mean, there are people, last week I watched a video of a lady who said she got her Adom, I think 1,000 something, and she's expanded her juice making business. I mean, so those are also significant because they are the large chunk. I mean, out of the hotels that we license, about almost 3,000 are budget, and they don't need the kind of money that maybe the bigger players need. So when they started from the bottom, if you're a big player and you haven't gotten yours, it will get to you. Then we also have the World Bank grants.
The tourism fund. How is that also? Have you started disbursement?
Actually, the disbursement will start very soon, but I know that
next month.
Oh yes, but this month they will be.
It will start this month.
They will start this month. But I know that a lot of. I mean, we had more than 1,400 or so applications coming for the first call, and the grants company EY has worked on it. The grants management committee has also worked on it, and so these are all coming out to support the business. Then you also have the corporate guarantees for the bigger players, and that is
over
where
2 billion Ghana cedis.
The over 2 billion Ghana cedis. And also we also have to put it in perspective that even during the COVID period, when this 14-day quarantine was put in place, I mean, a lot of the hotels, I mean, were full because you have people come in there and stay there for 2 weeks. And I saw some of the amounts people were paying. I mean, you have a plane load of people coming, 200 people staying with you for 2 weeks. Mr. Jofu was talking about.
It might be a good time. Let me just get a quick word from them and I'll come back. Mr. Jofu, so just wrapping up with you, I'll let you go and I come back to my guest in Sydney. For you, in a minute, what do you think should be done to ensure that we sustain the fortunes of the sector? Your regulator is here in a minute.
Well,
you want to be careful, eh?
But it's important that we work on the what do I say? The pricing of everything, from the airlines, the hotels, the tourism sites. All these factors are considered when the tourist wants to come to Ghana, and so all these things needs to be looked at holistically, right? And not just the hotels, but everything in totality. And so if we should also develop the tourist sites, I know you've talked about that already, talking about the road to Kakum and all those places, because the tourists, when they come, they look at these things, and if they don't enjoy them, they don't come back. Okay. So we have a lot of work to do to make sure that we sustain the gains we've made so far. So far, it's so good, but we have a lot more to do.
Mr. Asari, for you, travel, tourism, and toll in a minute, what do you think should be done to ensure that, listen, when we talk about this being one of our biggest growth pool in the economy, we get there in a minute?
Yes, I want to see more programs targeting the domestic tourism. I am of the belief that Ghanaians are heavy spenders, especially having traveled with a lot of them out there. So if there's more structures in place to entice the Ghanaians to travel within, and so I know the tourism authority have been doing their best, but I want to see more of engaging the hotels, engaging the tourist sites to make their packages or their place more attractive for Ghanaians, so that Ghanaians can travel within Ghana and spend more, so that when we have problems like this where the inbound is not coming, we will still not feel the pain so much.
Okay.
So, yes,
okay.
that is what.
Okay. Mr. Kusajiman, for you, do you think the future is bright? Short term, medium term, with all these things you had to put it in place?
Short term, bright. Medium term, brighter. Long term, brightest. I think we will rebound quickly. I mean, the fact that we've managed to more or less stem the tide of the spread of COVID in a way. I mean, if you look at globally, Ghana is now being touted. I mean, the leadership that the president has shown in fighting this pandemic is something that is giving the industry worldwide some confidence in the destination, that we've gotten this safety stamp, that people have, our borders are open, that we have this after secretariat here that is going to attract a lot of business meetings and conferences here, that we have certain activities that are lined up. I mean, we have the Beyond the Return as a 10-year project, a decade of African renaissance. And for us, our focus is to make Ghana the hub or the mecca of the African diaspora. And so the future is looking good. We have hope with where we are. There are few other segments of the market that we hopefully will be able to work with the presidential task force to get open, the cinemas, the beaches and all that. We will get there.
All other things being equal.
All other things being equal.
Is there any timelines you're looking at based on the numbers declining, news that the vaccine is coming very soon?
No, but you see, all those things come into play, but significantly, like the president said from day one, he's basing his judgments on data and science. And so we go with the data that these are the numbers, this is how can be, the protocols can be put in place. It is put to test, and then we scratch our heads and go back to the drawing board. So we've been engaging the players. I mean, the event organizers will tell you where we started from, how we got to where we were, and how events were allowed to happen. And so it's clearly not somebody saying, okay, we like these guys, let's happen. It's based on data and science and good leadership by the
data is supporting possibly a more even going into the last quarter of this year.
Yeah, it is.
We see these restrictions being reviewed.
For example, with the large events that you talked about, we've engaged some of them on looking at, for example, we've seen, they've shown us pictures of kiosks where people buy booths, so you can have a large park with thousands of people, but there's still social distancing. It's happening elsewhere. It's something that can be done. But probably they're looking at cost factors. We're looking at how do we monetize some of the event activities virtually. So it's constant engagement.
30 seconds, your final words, sir.
We're in a good place, thanks to good leadership by the president.
And things are going to be good. The recovery will be faster than we thought.
Much better.
I think we'll do a part 2 of this. And thank you so much for your time. And it looks like the sector is quite exciting than we even thought. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
this is the PM Express Business Edition. Recovery of the tourism sector. It looks like the prospects are bright with the easing of restrictions and the opening of the Kotoka International Airport for international travels. Well, time will tell whether indeed the excitement was short-lived or indeed we will all be excited. Have a great day. PM Express Business Edition. My name is George Yoafe. Let the debate continue in your homes.